Chapter 7, The Flying Fortress Daedalus. Remember that airship in Ninja Gaiden 1 that we boarded to try and stow away into Vigor?
Yeah, the one with the fat electric guy whose name I forgot.
Dynamo?
Yes, Dynamo. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, think of that, but upgraded to a flying airship fortress, and instead of stowing away, we are just going to wreck everyone's shit on board.
Picture kind of made it look like the Spruce Moose.
Yeah. A nice establishing shot for scale with our helicopter Sonya's piloting versus that massive behemoth of a fucking plane. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
I'm bringing us in.
Well, nice to see where you went inside the helicopter at least.
Yeah. Seeing a ninja sit inside any sort of contemporary vehicle is always, I guess depending on the vehicle, the most weird thing, I guess. Because you don't normally think of ninjas as being people that would sit in the passenger seat of a vehicle. They'd just be standing with their arms crossed.
Yeah. I was legitimately expecting him to still be hanging onto the wing.
Nope. But he does this. Catches himself from flying straight off the runway. That sword is durable. That it was able to not break under that. So first challenge of the level, we have to deal with some turrets. And this is kind of an annoying thing because, you know, bullets in this game still act like they did in Ninja Gaiden 1, where particularly machine guns, if you get caught in the volley, you are going to be stun-locked for a while. And it always will knock you out of anything you're doing, save for, like, charging an ultimate technique or charging a projectile.
I did not expect those little holes to have a lack of collision, but I can't complain.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm pretty sure most players didn't even realize it, because why would you, like in a game like this, why would you first think, from judging a situation like this, to go, oh yeah, I should get behind cover and, like, shoot through little peepholes. Like, that's more like something you'd find in, like, in just a, you know, a third or first person shooter. This is primarily melee.
Plus, at what point in this game has Ryu ever been concerned about stealth or hiding in the slightest?
Too true. Well, Sonya had a good run.
Seems like we're made of stronger stuff than the helicopter was.
But now we get some new enemies, and these are some real crazy ones. Yeah, exactly. I can only describe these things as looking like they just were dropped out of Quake 2. They look like the fucking Strogg. Because you look at the top and you can see, like, just pale, skinhead-looking dudes, like, with their heads just, like, crudely attached to a mechanical monstrosity.
I was thinking there's an old 90s X-Men arcade game that had stuff that looked really similar to that, except they were on tank treads.
Yeah, it's a very Western 90s thing. I guess you could, like, describe it. But yeah,
I like everything with the 90s.
Yeah, pretty much. Of course, we still got plenty of essence, and we're putting that to good use to immediately upgrade the scythe that we robbed off of Wolf's corpse at the end of last chapter. And it is appropriately more fiendish looking now.
It's got teeth.
Yep. And through this door, we get the next of the new enemies in this chapter, and one of my personal favorites.
The Code Yellows.
These dudes are ninjas, Black Spider ninjas, with like modern tactical gear and Sam Fisher style night vision goggles with way more lenses on them, and also they have guns. Fuck Honor, they realize the practicality of using guns and can shoot like not just, and it's not like pistols or anything, they're fucking assault rifles that they can easily shoot with just one hand. Like, that's already impressive in its own right.
The multitudes of, what are they called? Lenses?
Yeah.
On the things. Does make sense for the whole spider motif, at least.
It does, yeah. Because like, some of like the headpieces on like the traditional Black Spider outfits that we've seen, like, they do have the similar kind of multiple eye motif going. But yeah, these are like ninjas that basically fill a void left by the, well, like, left empty by two enemy types from the first game, both of which were ones that were based around them using guns and kind of having tactical gear. You know, there's the MSAT, like the riot cops that you fought early on, and then the Vigor military.
I remember who you were talking about, but I couldn't remember the names.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was like the SPAS DSF.
No, you were that acronym. You were thinking of like those specific arrow types that I also forget the name of every time. But yeah, like, these things are, you know, they're quick, they're agile, similar to like the regular ninjas. But of course, since they have assault rifles, they are way more prone to like just stun locking you when you're not guarding properly. So it makes things slightly more frustrating in that regard. But it's like, but I still like it as a design, and admittedly kind of not wholly original design, because a lot of like the enemy design archetypes in this series aren't like anything super creative in the same way as something like a Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, but they at least had, you know, they were at least cool in spite of that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they are well designed for what they are. The spider motif on the Spider Ninjas, I don't know where to start with these guys. They look neat.
The Strogg rejects, basically. Yeah. Oh yeah, and also, if you notice there that I took damage at the end, one thing I forgot to mention, those enemies, they leave a sizable explosion when they die. And also, we got a little preview of the third and final new enemy type for this chapter.
Is it a Xenomorph?
I'm glad you also thought that. So here's like another poll that I'm gonna make after drawing like comparisons to the Strogg with those like four-legged mechs, which are their actual like full name is called the Executors, but the mecha soldiers, those big ones, the way I would describe them is, it reminds me of if you played AVP Classic 2000, you know, like the late 90s first-person shooter on PC, you know, Aliens vs Predator, playing as Marines. There was an enemy type that you fought like in the Marine campaign called the Xenoborgs, which were basically Weyland-Yutani taking a xenomorph and strapping a bunch of cybernetic shit on it and basically turn them into slow but pretty deadly like walking turrets.
That's pretty cool, actually. I can find no fault with that.
Yeah, because like how many people did you think would like immediately draw that comparison? Probably not many, unless they were already like kind of into that kind of stuff, like especially kind of around like the early to mid 2000s, you know, like in the years leading up to this game.
Yeah. I'm pretty impressed you can just kind of one-shot something that size.
Yeah. And those mecha soldiers, they too produce an explosion when they die, and it is even bigger than the executors. This is going to be a running theme. I want you to remember this when we get to a particular moment right near the end of the chapter.
So just to get it out of the way now, is the boss of the level Michael Bay?
It's not a mecha, but
Okay.
it's something, and when I say something, it is a thing that made people curse this game immensely for what they consider to be a real dick move. But it's like a dick move that I think is funny in context and is easily avoided when you actually know what it is and stop bitching about it.
You just fight an explosion. Single sentient explosion.
Mm-hmm. It's the best preview of what Master Ninja mode is like, because you're basically fighting explosions on that mode.
Wish I could say that makes sense. Or it doesn't make sense, rather.
Well, I say that mainly because you deal with a shit ton of projectile spam from like incendiary shurikens and rockets and such on that mode, and it gets real overwhelming quickly. But yeah, we're continuing to just lay waste to everything in here. Scythe did us pretty good at the start. Dual swords continuing to be the best at just ruining everyone's days. Just taking off arms, legs everywhere, mass chaos. Now we're, putting our bow to good use to blow up a reactor.
By taking out all of its steampunk accessories.
Yeah, just its power sources. And also as part of that, we have to make sure that we definitely destroy, like, all the computer consoles in this room and such. Ryu is making sure that absolutely everything is destroyed and cannot be salvaged.
He logged into his email through that computer and he just wants to make sure that nobody else can get into it.
Yep. Also, guess what's back? Everyone's favorite piece of shit enemies, rocket launchers.
I know there were two of them there, firing probably somewhat alternately, but that was still really fast for rockets.
Yeah, and there's like a reason for it. Like, there's a particular AI quirk behind it that makes it, I guess that it does add to the challenge, but it is kind of an annoying one at that. Their rate of fire for when they like fire their rockets gets faster the closer you get to them. Because like it's basically like an evolution of the behavior that was exhibited by like the rocket launcher enemies in the first Ninja Gaiden, which was like part of it was that they would actively wait to fire their rockets until you like came out of like a forward jump, because they knew that like you had a slight bit of landing lag and that was where you'd be most vulnerable. Yeah. And that's still in effect here, but it is amplified by the fact that on top of their rate of fire increasing, they have no visible reload animations, which is something that the Vigor military rocket launcher dudes had. So like after you saw them fire the rocket launcher, you could at least be able to know when they would be able to fire next at the earliest possible time.
Yeah, you see them like stuff new rockets down the tube.
Yeah, and like the fact that it's not in here, I think, is unfortunate. Like that would have at least, like if that was in there, that would have probably helped kind of like solve like the possible aggravation of you trying to close the distance, but they just keep speeding up their rate of fire on those rockets. Because like it's never fun to get hit by those things. It's an explosion that does sizable damage and always sends Ryu like not even standing in place stunned, but flying back. So like you could just as easily like lose distance as you do gain it.
I think that's why most enemies that are designed tend to not use short-range explosions.
Yeah.
It doesn't particularly reward good or skilled gameplay.
Yeah. the placement of this notebook right here, I think, is kind of confusing in particular, because you think when you pick it up that you are, like, that is that person's personal notebook, yet why would his final words have been, like, when he died or was supposedly killed while sitting in the bunks? But before I get back to that, I want you to pay close attention to the announcer here. Yep. Sonya's alive, and that is the immediate priority of all Black Spider Ninja in the presence of women. I am further convinced because of that the Black Spider clan, like, their ninja village isn't even a village, it's more like a boot camp. Just guys only, no even, like, real, like, free time or anything to pursue other pleasures.
That's a priority for them, so...
Yeah. But yeah, going back quickly to what I was saying about that whole notebook, is like, aside from, like, the kind of funny kind of, like, descriptions and stuff in there, particularly there's like a dated entry in that notebook where it was talking about how tactical ninjas deployed to, like, the area where werewolves were died, like, makes a funny remark of, serves them right for using guns. But, like, the fact is, like, I almost, on rereading that again, seem to think that the notebook that you pick up isn't belonging to that particular corpse, and it was just carried by someone else. Because, again, his dying words makes it seem like he would have actually died in battle, and not and not moments before Ryu comes storming inside an airship that should be reasonably secured.
It makes sense. I mean, the last two entries were, something like, I'll show you what it means to be a true ninja, followed by, well, I failed.
Yep. Now we got our 5th Test of Valor, focusing on the Kusarigama, and this is another one like the one I did with just the Falcon's Talons that was especially difficult, because it is very hard to do any decent damage or delimb these mecha soldiers with this weapon, unless you are going out of your way to do ultimate techniques.
Which I'm definitely not. Well, I'm not even playing, so...
Yeah.
Forgot about that important part.
Yeah, at least we got, like, near double speed to make sure that, this thing doesn't go on too long, because, Christ, it took me a while.
That explains the video link.
Yeah.
Kinda nice that we got this, finally. Yeah.
Yep, we got the Piercing Void now, which means that as of this moment, both Ninja Gaiden 2 and Sigma 2 are at parity with having all Ninpo available now. Took us a while to get back to it, but it's particularly useful to just give yourself a little breather and also instantly take off an extremity from the mecha soldiers.
I know in the first game it had it, like, the general setup was that you'd get the new stuff shortly before it was useful. But none of the Ninpo seems particularly different from the rest of it in this one. Not none of it, but, like, a lot of it seems the same.
Like, compared to what you had available for use in the first game.
Yeah, or maybe I'm just comparing the Piercing Void with the Inferno.
Yeah, well, it's meant to be, like, similar to what the Art of the Inferno was in the first game, where it was a very linear, like, projectile, with the main difference being that the Piercing Void can actually go through enemies and does not explode on contact. Like, the Art of the Inferno in this game is considerably more upgraded because the fireballs are homing and you can shoot 3 at once when you have them maximized. But then, of course, you got the Art of the Wind Blades, which are basically the replacement for both the Art of the Inazuma, like the lightning strike that you got in the first game, and the ice spell that I forget the name of because I barely used it. And then you have Art of the Flame Phoenix, which I demonstrated only in Chapter 5 when I got it, and never again because it's just the worst version of the Art of the Fire Wheels.
Fair point. The original Art of the Fire Wheels was kind of a nice little callback to the NES Gaiden stuff.
Yeah, it was. And like it was a wholly defensive item, but there was juggle properties if you were to like have the fire wheels active and just run into dudes because it would just send them flying. But outside of the Nimpo, I can, there's an extra detail I can say about the Kusarigama, since this whole Test of Valor is technically meant to be a showcase for it, but I've talked about in detail, like during the last few chapters, that its main gimmick is that it has absurd range that can be controlled depending on like what kind of combo you're doing based on like pressing the X or Y button, and it's usually also indicated by what part of the weapon Ryu uses, either the sickle at close range or swinging the metal weight around at long range. But there is another thing about it that I've demonstrated quite rarely here or there in this challenge just because of how chaotic it is, but its other main gimmick is that it has quite a suite of grapple moves, and the thing that and the way it works, as you probably expect, is by throwing the weight around to like kind of lasso enemies and pull them to you. But the best part about it is that it doubles as a 100% guaranteed D-limb move. Because D-limbing in this game is always like pretty much up to random chance. It's just that the chance of particular limbs like getting cut off with certain moves is always at a very high rate. But here it's more like you use the particular move called the Demon Cutter or Flying Vine if you use it against a larger enemy, because it doesn't work on them. And you just pull enemies to you, and then you take off an arm or leg, and then that just opens them up instantly for a obliteration technique. And it's totally invincible as well, so it's a nice extra reprieve.
That was some pretty sweet music too.
Yeah. I made sure to time the ending just right with
the music.
Just ripping that dude's entire existence apart with a miniature black hole. That is still the best part about the damn thing, just because of the description confirming that it is literally, as it calls it, a miniature black hole. Ryu Hayabusa has the potential to end the fucking universe if he wanted to, and concentrated really hard.
Thank God no one ever sees him because he's a ninja.
Yep.
That, and he just kind of wants to stay out of the way, secluded in a mountain village somewhere.
Yep. So after that, we get down into a busted up storeroom, get to pick up some new stuff, such as the Tonfas. Now, I love these weapons, though I will admit that they are not my main specialty, because like the Kusarigama, I would classify this as a trick weapon. This is trick weapon number 2. And its trick, like, requires you to have, like, a different approach to playing games that, like, that all the other weapons in this game would not really condition you to. Like, I'll, like, explain it, like, a bit more, like, probably as this chapter goes on, but definitely later on once we get to show this off in its own Test of Valor. But one thing that is immediately apparent with this weapon, as you'll find, is that it has by far my favorite ultimate technique of any weapon. Hold on to your ears, because this might get loud. All 3 soldiers dead! And I do not apologize for that cacophony of metal getting busted up and exploding, because it is music to my ears. And of course, we're going to upgrade this to level 3, because again, we got a shit ton of essence in the bank to burn.
Are they as much of an replacement to what the flails were as they seem?
They're not.
Huh.
Mainly because, like, the last weapon we will get in this game is the Vigorian flails, and those have their, you know, their particular use. But the thing with the ultimate technique and why it's good is, not only is, like, the animation and the speed it plays out at is incredibly satisfying, but it has a trait that makes its ultimate technique very useful in terms of accuracy, and that is... So, like, let's say with the Dragon Sword as an example. If you whiff it, like, Ryu just does a straight forward slash and, you know, it just kind of sits there and is not really able to do anything for a while.
Yeah.
With the Tonfas, that same principle still applies, but when he's in that position where he's kind of got that sort of recovery animation, the Tonfas are still spinning. And if something is as stupid as to accidentally go into range of those Tonfas while they're spinning, no matter how late it is, UT will activate.
Oh.
You get extra, like, you get extra time to land a UT if a enemy is not directly in front of you when you, like, charge at them. Because anything else that is, like, trying to get at you from other angles will still get hit, and you will activate the whole animation. And it is a godsend for this weapon in particular.
I like that one a bit better than the Azuna drop.
Oh yeah, there's, like, some of these weapons, I mean, even this weapon technically does have an Azuna drop of its own, but I rarely use it just because that one you saw where I just, like, grabbed the enemy off the ground and forward flip through the air multiple times until smashing their heads is just as effective. And, like, even the Kusari Gama has its own version of that as well. Like, it's also, it's like a grapple move of its own, but it's not the Demon Cutter that takes off a limb. Still stylish as hell, though.
Extremely. There goes the hot water tank.
I think in any real situation, if you were to look at that, no matter how far away, I always imagine it being almost like a nuclear-style explosion that would just, like, how would you not go immediately blind from seeing that?
I would wager you would.
But I guess not Ryu, because, you know, his eyesight's probably, like, well, 2020 is probably a given, but it's gotta be, like, way better than that.
Wait, protect the armadillo? Like, that's a boss, I'm assuming, right?
Maybe.
Like, it's not just he's sitting there and he's got a little pet armadillo next to him that he's just really, really worried about.
No, well, I even actually forgot to mention it when we were going down that elevator after we upgraded the Tonfas. You saw, like, a kind of a spherical thing that was, like, that looked like it was being cooled down and it was, like, radiating red hot. That was the armadillo.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hey, Sonia. Glad to see you were doing alright, just blowing everyone up with your giant rocket launcher.
Be careful with that. You don't want to bring her down quite yet.
Trust me. Someone kill that damn ninja.
Calm yourself, Elizabeth. I will handle this.
Haven't seen him for a while.
Yeah. Genshin's still around. Still doing shit with Elizabeth.
Giant Wolverine claw and all.
And a big-ass katana. Like physically bigger than Ryu's Dragon Sword. Because he's a big man.
Not always about the size of your sword.
Yeah, but his sword, like, has, like, evil red electricity aura around it at all times when he wields it, so...
Oh, well, okay, that is kind of special.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, like, the sort of the thing I like about this chapter overall, and why I would say it's my second favorite of the entire game. I mean, mostly just because this is a very focused, all-action chapter, kind of similar to like the very start of the game in Chapter 1. But the other part I like about it is the conceit that, yes, you are still in control of Ryu at all times and you're destroying shit, but it also kind of goes out of its way to assure you that your female companion is also doing a good job at wrecking shit. You know? Because we never had moments like that with Rachel. She was just off doing her own thing to eventually get herself kidnapped.
True.
Yeah, I like Sonya. You know, as much as she is like another like blonde bombshell in the same vein as Rachel, she does more stuff that I approve of overall.
I feel as though I would agree.
Mm-hmm. So we're right near
Rachel
the end and are about to face off against a familiar foe, followed by an immediately new foe.
Pangolin.
Young one, how many times will you stand in our way?
Round 2 Genshin, and he's got support. I got out the Windblade specifically for this because these are the incendiary shuriken ninjas, and I do not want to give them any time. Also, it's a good opportunity to keep showing off the tonfas.
Is it just this fight? I don't remember too many other fights having minions in them.
This is pretty much like the first and like kind of the only one that has like support units of this type. There is like another boss who has a gimmick similar to Marbus where he does summon enemies into the arena, but this is like the way this fight is that it starts with a set number of ninjas dropping in, and they all come in at the start. They don't like come in like increments whenever you bring down Genshin's health by 25% like it would in the first game on higher difficulties.
Kind of thankful for that.
Yeah. But also this is like a good way to kind of demonstrate that, you know, with Genshin, any weapon is still good against him, even though it would be most thematically appropriate to wail on him with the dragon sword. You know? Give some other weapons some time to shine.
You got him. No reason why not to.
But of course, this fight is not going to be the end. Like I said, there's one right after that, and there's been some allusions to it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, bye, I guess.
We made it.
Ryu, we're going down!
No shit, girl.
On the plus side, they are on the side with engines, at least.
I will give props to the guy on the PA for continuing to do his job to the very end.
That doesn't...
Head down!
That doesn't fly. Alright, well... You do you, Ryu.
He does look pretty cool riding that motorcycle, I will admit.
Yes, he does.
It is a sleek-ass motorbike. Very fitting of the Black Spider Clan ninjas. I mean, it's even got its insignia on it.
Branding is important when you're among evil ninja organizations.
Yep. Oh, and Sonya's gone again. I was not lying earlier about the armadillo.
I was thinking it was maybe a robot that I missed.
No,
That's...
it's a fiend called the Nuclear Armadillo.
Oh,
Also sounds like a low-rent Foxhound member name. Like that.
I was...
That totally
Okay, there we
sound
go.
like that would sound like the type of name of like a boss that Snake would fight in like a Metal Gear spin-off.
It does.
So yeah, and
was-
this one, I will be letting it demonstrate its moves, but I'm going to be handling it a bit differently because you're not going to actually see me doing like the usual sort of like cuts and transitions to highlight the different moves before doing the fight for real. Because there are some things to talk about with this fight, you know, because it's a pretty annoying fight that is... like, you can either kill it really quickly or not quickly if you, depending on how lucky you are in, like, catching up to its face and wailing on it. Because its health goes way, way down when you're able to land on it, land hits on its face. But not only is that where it's most dangerous because it has its little, like, bite grab attack that you saw before, but it also likes to do this move, where it just curls up into a ball and just rolls around the entire arena, and is very hard to dodge sometimes.
Yeah, it seems that way. It's also just kind of farting rocks everywhere.
Yeah, and part of that is because it's this particular phase it's in when you get it down to like 40-45% health left, where like you see it now like irradiating like glowing red, and basically when it's in that move, like all its other attacks are basically enhanced to shoot out like those giant flaming boulders.
Yeah.
And even as you're trying to get up to where its head is, it's pretty dangerous to be like up close around the insides because its tail can swing around and hit you. And now you can see why there's a reason for showing the OT, because I beat the boss. That should be... Oh. I told you about the explosions, dog.
Yeah, that makes sense from a nuclear armadillo standpoint. Whatever standpoint that is.
Yeah. So yeah, the reason for the explosion is because that's one of those things that made people especially hate this boss and like hate the game as well, like among the other reasons why they did back in the day. But part of that is because you get that boss's health all the way down and it just pulls off a suicide move that takes you with it. But there is a trick around it, and it's the same principle behind how you are able to survive the explosions from the executors or mecha soldiers. Can you guess why? It'll become very obvious.
Hold the block button?
Yep. Survive.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah, just if you block, Ryu can survive a nuclear explosion that way.
Sonya.
I'm okay.
Clearly. So yeah, that's how the fight goes. It's like I said, it is a dick move by the devs that is hilarious, and they only do it once, and once you know how to because it gives you so much time to prepare for it anyway that it becomes a non-factor. And it's only people that got hit by it like the first several times without realizing that they're still salty.
To be fair, I wouldn't exactly think that the not robot was going to blow up.
Yeah.